pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to Why's That. So right here, it'll be a great time for me to get on into some new episodes. And the production of new episodes isn't really going to be that hard, in accordance with some of my other franchises that I offer on my channel. But hey, it's great to be back here yet again. So I got more questions on the way, and this one in particular, number 17, is rather deflecting. But let's just get on with it. The question simply says, why is that you refuse to let out the stress and use swears every now and then? Now, typically I don't really call it swears, I just know it as cussing or foul language. But of course, that's not really the point here. I don't use cuss words because after all, there's been a lot going on about it, and there's been so much debate taking place on whether or not it should be considered illegalized or anything of that sort. And as a matter of fact, it is already bad enough that certain terms that do exist in the American language, they do happen to be used every now and then by some people. I'm talking about things like racial slurs, derogatory terms, hundreds of different things out there that could possibly be put together. Anything that would come from an Urban Dictionary, slangs, lewds, or just dozens of different words out there. I had no idea that it was so common to be used nowadays. And the fact that, well, back then was better than today, that shouldn't have been what the case was. What should have happened was the words should have been banned at some point in the past so the present can never truly have them again. But you know what though? The discontinuation of some words in the American language, as according to some older history books, they would indeed showcase a lot about the usage of some words way back in the day. But ultimately, the kind of cuss words that do exist nowadays, and the ones that certainly have existed for a long time now, there's really no way that they can ever be truly erased, because there's been hundreds of films out there, some television shows and the like, though of course the films are always the ones to ever use some of the strongest ones ever imagined, whereas the television shows either get bleeped or they get cancelled, if they ever use any of them. Which makes no sense, but that's far beyond the point here. I'm talking about myself in accordance with the usage of foul language of any sorts. But the truth is, I hardly ever get stress. It is very difficult for me to ever have such things like stress, including certain chemicals found in the brain like oxytocin and high ends of adrenaline and hormones. Those can all be considered really large points of stress. If there's a certain amount of any of these chemicals that the brain's produced, it's ultimately the main reason why stress factors tend to increase. But I'm unfortunately not one of the type. I'm one that doesn't have as much of certain chemicals that are responsible for causing stress. High blood pressure, heart rate, pulsations, and all that sorts. So of course it would make it very difficult for me to have to vent out any frustration, as frustration hardly ever comes by to begin with. But at times where it can get very extreme, like with a Facecam Specials Insurgents session, in case you're not familiar with part 3 of FSI, then well, that's basically what happened many times. I ended up finding out a lot about certain games that seemed unfair or atrocious. I really would like James Rolfe to do a review on them on AVGN, but again, there's a lot going to it that you probably don't realize at this point, but mainly the fact that I don't get as stressed, the fact that there's a lot of things out there that happen to prevent me from becoming frustrated, and of course, the fact that my channel happens to buy me some time throughout all my time that I have here. Of course, the NCOV pandemic is one thing. Same with the BLM, but once again, stress isn't ultimately something that I get. And even if I did, it wouldn't do much. Or it wouldn't at least cause me to do much. So, of course, I've been one to not use foul language of any sorts. And it has been like that for about 4 years now. I've gone 4 years without having to use a single one. And if that's not crazy enough, then wow, there's a lot that has certainly happened even before then. But anyways, that's pretty much all I got to talk about based on this question here. Hopefully you're satisfied with this answer. But if you want to see more, go down to my channel. Make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.